Oh boy, I do hope Metaphor wins Game of the Year, considering the number of turn-based JRPGs that won the award in past TGAs.
Which is 0!
The Game Awards GOTY nominees are really interesting for this year. On one hand, you have this addicting card game since poker in Balatro, an answer on PlayStation's long overdue mascot competitor against Mario, sorry Sackboy, with Astrobot, an immortal historical piece being their first AAA game played by millions in Black Myth Wukong, a fantastic remake of a beloved PS1 game that vastly improved on its first enhancement with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, then Shadow of the Erdtree that expand on Elden Ring's difficult but fun experience, except for those who are still mad that the DLC got nominated, and of course, Metaphor, which a lot of people seem to think won't win the award. But are they right though? Well, based on historical data, turn-based JRPGs rarely get nominated, much less win Game of the Year, especially in the Game Awards, where the only turn-based JRPGs ever nominated for GOTY were Persona 5 in 2017, FF7 Remake in 2020, Rebirth for this year, and Metaphor. That's not to say that the turn-based mechanic is what limits these games to fail winning the Best Game of the Year, since Baldur's Gate 3 won the award last year, and its turn-based system has a higher difficulty learning curve compared to past nominees. And no, it's not about which country developed the game, considering past GOTY winners came from various nations, and Japanese-developed games won the coveted title thrice. What really puts Metaphor at a disadvantage is the lack of mass appeal for turn-based JRPGs in itself. Unless you're Final Fantasy, then chances are no one has ever heard of this anime game. Thus, Metaphor won't win the Game Awards Game of the Year because it is a turn-based JRPG. Which is a hilarity because that is a shallow statement being echoed around. Metaphor being an anime game with turn-based mechanics is exactly why it deserves to win Game of the Year. And here's why. But before that though, if your personal GOTY is Metaphor, then like this video and join Atao Defined for more JRPG content. So yeah, to reiterate, turn-based JRPGs aren't really Mr. Popular, since these games are perceived to be a chore to play for a lot of people. And you can't really blame them because many JRPGs fail to properly draw a line between an interactive game and a visual novel. Wait a minute, this isn't a game, it's reading! Which is why it's really difficult to get people to try and play these amazing games hidden by huge amounts of text. Another major reason why a lot of people have accepted the thought that Metaphor won't win is because it's an anime game. Anime, even though it is widely accepted and consumed as a genre now compared to 2000s, it is still dealing with a lot of prejudice. One of the most negative examples of this is the adverse judgment that anime girls are gateway to CP, arguing that these anime characters only exist as fan service. That's not to say that there are no questionable anime shows out there because oh boy, they exist. But to say that anime is the only controversial media is quite unfair, since these types of content exist for others as well. Now this type of prejudice is what upsets many to actually appreciate the beauty of this medium. Hence why Metaphor being an anime game puts it at a major disadvantage, much like how other anime media failed to win prestigious awards. Take the Oscars as an example. From 2000s up to now, there's only been 2 anime movies that won the award for Best Animated Film. Both of them are from Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away in 2002 and The Boy and the Heron in 2023. That's not to say that other winners of this award don't deserve them, but the nominees have been questionable, considering the fact that Makoto Shinkai's Your Name wasn't nominated, but somehow Boss Baby did. This is the kind of mountain that Metaphor is facing. No matter how progressive anime has become, it's being held back by numerous shows that takes it back in the realm of degeneracy. And if you haven't noticed, most turn-based RPGs are also considered as anime games, which is why they barely get nominated, much less win an award. So why am I confident in saying that Metaphor deserves to win Game of the Year despite it being an anime game that has a copious amounts of reading and is a turn-based JRPG? Well, let's enumerate the simpler reasons why this game deserves the dub. First, it redefined JRPGs as a whole, and I've stated this in my past videos before. Metaphor improved a lot of things in its turn-based system, introducing new mechanics such as the importance of positioning characters to take advantage of certain skills, avoiding grind pests by allowing players to defeat enemies in the overworld with its simple action mechanics. And probably the best one of them all is Metaphor is a result of Studio Zero synthesizing every effective game design that they have learned from past Atlus games. One more thing that made this game so beautiful is its dynamic world building, such as the different tribes we have from the Horned Clemars to the Three-Eyed Mustaris. And despite them having new names, they feel familiar. But the role each tribe played in the world is so impactful with the whole narrative of the story. Not to mention its rich history that explains the dire state of its world, from the dark secrets of Magla to the unspeakable origins of monstrous humans. Metaphor is the first noble fantasy for the longest time, by creating this new world that effectively combined the beauty of a fantasy setting and stronger themes, brought to life by its mesmerizing art direction and musical scores that send chills to your spine. Now, these are all great reasons why Metaphor ReFantazio deserves Game of the Year, but there's a far more critical argument that can be made for this game that erases the bias that it's facing. Because despite Metaphor being an anime game, it avoids the anime tropes that many people find off-putting. Take Persona 5 as an example. It is the highest rated Atlus game, but strong criticism against it are its overused anime tropes, such as the moments where the game made Ryuji into a comic relief, especially the scene where he gets beaten up even after saving the Phantom Thieves and almost costing his life. Then of course, the hot spring scenes. Every anime has got to have it. These kinds of tropes are so old that retirement homes have rejected its application for exceeding the age limit. But Metaphor doesn't have any of this. Instead of using anime tropes for humor, it plays on established character personalities that manage to make them feel more than perceived stereotypes, such as the scene where the party uses Louis' painting against Zorba, and of course the hilarity of Hulkenberg's taste buds. If you've been a long-time anime fan, you'll know by now what kind of personality a character has based on their designs, and yeah, we were so wrong about Hulkenberg. Many thought that she'll be similar to Makoto from Persona 5 based on her looks, but what we got is so much better. Then many took Stroll as the goofball partner similar to Junpei or Yosuke, but it turns out he's the brains of the group, Mr. Prim and Proper. And then Heismei provided one of the best backstory writing instead of being there as a cute mascot creature character. The story and direction of Metaphor, despite looking like an anime game, didn't feel like an anime show at all. Instead of playing with known tropes, it focused on its narrative, with its pillar being the world building of the game. It tackled heavier themes that other media find banal. Take Dragon Age Veilguard as an example that skittish its way on sensitive topics. But Metaphor, again despite being an anime game, dove right in the middle and presented these strong controversial themes in the most beautiful ways possible. Metaphor is an anime game that doesn't feel like a typical anime show. And do you know what other media is similar to that? Animated films by Hayao Miyazaki, the guy whose animated films get nominated in the Oscar 4 times and won 2 of them. Metaphor has a similar feel to Studio Ghibli films. While both doesn't necessarily use tropes to move their story, they also develop their characters based on the world that they are presenting. Their narrative plays on that growth and grapples with stronger themes, resulting in rich stories that can move the hearts of people. This is what Metaphor managed to achieve. All throughout your journey as this perceived lowly tribe trying to save the prince and stop a tyrant in ruining the kingdom further, all the while dealing with racism and oppression. It connected us with these multi-dimensional characters that expanded upon the dire state of inequality, while leading us to explore this beautiful world, at the same time providing a genre-defining mechanic. Metaphor ReFantazio is more than worthy for the title Game of the Year. But hey, this is just my personal opinion. Other nominees also have their strong cases, so tell me why your personal GOTY deserves the win. Speaking of awards, it's really unfair that Persona 3 Reload gets snubbed by the Game Awards, but Why did this happen? Well, if you're curious about that, then check this video out. Join Otaka Define for more gaming content. This is Math, and stay awesome, my dudes.